Hello and welcome, guys, back again to another episode of OnReviewCast. And yes, once again, guys, we're back here. I'm your host here, Ash, and welcome to OnReviewCast, your number one go-to review show for all things media. And today we're continuing our on review journey of House of the Dragon. This is House of the Dragon, episode 8 on review.
HBO series, House of the Dragon, Season 1, Episode 8.
And just like every other episode, guys, we're going to start this episode off with a episode breakdown courtesy of Fandom. And this episode is entitled Lord of the Tides. The Lord of the Tides is the 8th episode of the first season of the House of the Dragon. It's the 8th episode of the series overall, and it premiered on October 9th on HBO and HBO Max. It was written by Eileen Shim and directed by Greta Vasant Patel. Synopsis. 6 years later, with the Driftmark succession suddenly critical, Rhaenyra attempts to strike a bargain with Rhaenyra. So this episode was, first of all, another time jump. And something I'm curious about, I guess, and this whole adventure, I suppose. How do you guys feel about these like time jumps and like different things? Because I think I mentioned it a little bit in the last one. That I know that they didn't go very well appreciated in terms of changing the changing the actors for the actual show. I mean, I know it's a hot take. It's a hot take because well, first of all, I guess I was I heard some stuff on Joe Rogan's podcast when he was talking about this before, way back when it was first coming out, I suppose. And it was just like, Joe Rogan said that like, him and his wife were watching it, and he was like, "Oh, they changed the actors. Fuck that. We're not watching this anymore. We're not gonna do this anymore. We're not watching this thing anymore. We're not gonna be entertained by this, or we're not gonna let this thing entertain us anymore." And it's kind of like, I just can't help it. When I saw it, I just can't help but think to myself, geez, people can't handle change, man. Like, really. It's really what it comes down to, honestly, at the end of the day. People really just can't handle change. And it's not that big of, well, I think that's just really what it is. People can't handle change. To me, really, though, to say it was the right choice or was the wrong choice for them to actually do it, I guess who can really say? But here's the thing. Game of Thrones is so popular and such a strong piece of IP that you're still going to watch it. You're still going to you're going to complain about that, I guess. That's something to complain about, something to say, I guess. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Everybody has an opinion. That's cool. But here's the thing. You're still gonna watch it. you're still gonna watch it. You're gonna still watch it. You're gonna watch it, and you're gonna watch it because you have invested some time into this. You have invested into the character. But I think that's one of the things he was actually saying, that actually what he didn't really like was the fact that, we put so much time, I guess, because when certain people meet other people, they get invested, and they put imprinting on that person in a kind of sense, I guess, in a degree where it's kind of like, you get used to that person's face of a sort. So to bring in a whole new character, or to bring in a whole new face, is like, well, I can't take this. Like, it's too much change for me. I can't fucking take it. I can't get used to this idea that you looked one way and now you look this way in a matter of episodes. It's too much for me to take. And not like actual people fucking grow up and their facial features change and etc. as they grow. Puberty doesn't exist in the real world. I just thought that was so. I just think that when I heard that, sorry, guys, I'm gonna get into the episode, but like I heard that, and I heard some people complaining about that. I thought that was so silly. That was so ridiculous. Like, get over it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, get over yourself. Like, come on, what are you doing? Really? Like they changed the actors, but like also like to me, I guess it's like so what, and it kind of also makes sense. And I think hot take. It worked. I think it worked. It works. And I think it was the best choice to actually show this dramatic thing. They're doing something, and also I guess like usually when they do these things, like time jumps and etc., they don't do anything like that. They don't make the people. They don't switch out the actors. They don't. Some of them are very lazy, but they don't try to make the person look any age or old up or anything like that, unless it's a dramatic shift in age. Do you know what I mean? And then they really try with the makeup and etc. But for the most part, no, not really, honestly. But they did it here in Game of Thrones, and they can do that because they have enough money and they have enough resources on the Game of Thrones production from obviously, clearly from all the scenery and etc. and everything they do with the dragons and etc. They have it, they got it. So they're probably were thinking the same thing I was thinking, like, why the fuck not? Let's try something different. Let's do it. Let's go for it. These people can't handle change, man. They can't handle something different. Sorry about that, guys. But yeah, I didn't have a problem with it. But and then honestly too, like the amount of time that passes over, like 6 years or etc. You want the children to stay children. You want the kids to stay kids. I guess they really had a main problem with the main actor Rhaenyra changing her character, but it was a clear jump from like her teenage years to her young adult years. I mean, and you know, people change. Anyway, getting into this episode. So this episode was mainly about like synopsis says, was like the basic synopsis of it was like the Lord of Driftmark, essentially, was being challenged due to the status of Sir Carlos, who was being injured in battle, and we actually meet Rhaenys and Laena's kids talking to the uncle who clearly wants a seat at the throne. So it's the same political thing of family royalty ships and etc. Coming into play when who should be the rightful ruler of the throne, because Rhaenys has been temporary ruler and Carlos has been gravely damaged in battle. He's on his way home on a ship right now. We don't know if he's gonna live or not. It's basically what goes down. But the problem is the brother, I think, in this episode steps out of line. He does get his comeuppance for that stuff, and get to talk about that later. But he steps way out of line, in my opinion. Like, that was for sure. Let me know if you guys agree with this. Some of the comeuppance that he gets is definitely warranted. And he kind of started this whole. Even if he knew what he knew, he stepped way out of line. Was not appropriate, not his place to try to challenge what he challenged. And some might disagree and say, like, no, he stood up for what he believed in, but at the same time, he had to see some of that shit up. I think he did. But the whole situation comes into question because Sir Corlys is Laenor's father, and his grandson is Rhaenyra's children, whose legitimacy has always been kind of, there's always been kind of whispers and thoughts and accusations about the legitimacy of their throne. And so he has a big problem with it. Sir Corlys's brother, the one who gets his comeuppance, has a huge problem with this, and he's challenging the fact that Rhaenyra's children shouldn't have any placement to the house and his inheritance. This is essentially challenging his inheritance. So, and this time Rhaenyra and Daemon have been married together, and they've been living in Dragonstone and in this somewhat kind of peace. And I gotta really admit, say segue real quick, but Damon is really, again, like as I mentioned in the previous episodes ago, he's really changed, he's really matured a bit. And it's so hard to see that he was this character who was in question. He's somewhat still kind of sort of in question, not really to some degree, but I think we start to see it a little bit more. His maturity comes out in this episode when they decide to visit King's Landing because Luke's inheritance is being challenged. The Lord Corlys's grandson is being challenged. His legitimacy of that is being challenged. So I mean, they go to King's Landing, and a few things have changed. Because remember, it's a six year jump. And guys, realistically, if you're thinking about picking up House of the Dragon, thinking about watching this, if it's the first time listening to this podcast, first of all, welcome. But this is not a story that's gonna be on the same timeline or for a few episodes, much given well, it's not gonna be on the same timeline for a few seasons. We can see that, much less that of a few episodes within that of season 1, because they hip hop jump from place to place all over in terms of timeline. Guys, so that happens. If you don't like change, you can't get used to change, this might not be the show for you, honestly. But it's 6 years later, and we see a Queen Alicent now, still the same actor from when she grew up. She's now still rocking her green, but like Rhaenyra and Daemon actually point out, there are a lot of things that changed within the King's Landing castle, because Alicent has been there, sitting there for a while. And fuck, I mean, man, like, I can only imagine the equivalent of that feeling is like, you know, when you leave home for like a little while and like you go off to college or you go somewhere, you take a trip from your childhood home that you grew up in for a while, and you return back to it and you notice things that are different. You're like, well, what the fuck happened? You just can't take change, right? I think we as humans, just like adapting to change is like kind of hard to accept for us. But it's just the little tiny things you really do notice. You have other people like living in your house, and like, or you have other people either staying in your house or you've been in your house in a long time. And that's basically what they were experiencing through the whole thing. And Alicent was actually going to greet them at the door and say, you know, hey, welcome back to King's Landing, welcome back to the home, and probably like, you know, explain all these changes. But there's a situation with Aegon, her son, that she needs to attend to, that Lord Eric tells her about. So instead, Rhaenyra and Daemon actually go to visit Viserys in his bed. And yo, the king ain't looking too hot. I said it before, I'll say it again. This motherfucker is a champ. This motherfucker is a champ. This motherfucker, I thought he was gone from episode 2 or 3. I thought he was gone. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me. If you thought he was just down for the count, he was gone. Let me know. But I thought I never would have imagined he would have made it this far. Never. No. I told you, even on the second watch, it was really hard to believe that this motherfucker's still alive. Like, really? Shit. Like, and he's not looking too hot. He's looking, his skin isn't like flush anymore. He's looking gray. His body's falling apart. He's got like a patch over his eye now. He's got like patches over his skin. Just not looking too hot. But Rhaenyra and Daemon are there, and they're like just kind of like trying to realistically convince. There are two reasons from what I understand. And those 2 reasons are essentially to let them know what has been happening and what's been going on with the whole Lord Corlys thing, and Lucerys is her son, Luke, and the whole Luke thing, and how his entitlement to that, the Driftmark is being, his inheritance to Driftmark is being quite put into question because of the legitimacy. And Damon kind of steps in and says like, no, you need to understand, like, you need to vouch for Luke and Viserys and etc. And they stand united in that. And a little bit of a segue from like, I think I want to talk about it real quick from the last episode. Like, I it's still weird to me. I guess like to them it's kind of like normal, but it's just still so weird to me how they end up together. Like the Damon and Rhaenyra, and they're together now, and they have kids even. That's why the second reason that they're visiting Viserys. And they name one of their children after Viserys, call him Viserys, and the next one they name Aegon. And then this is what, and it's okay. First of all, one thing at a time. It's so weird to me that they're together, and it's like apparently like it looks like it's like working. I guess like them being together. Damon looks happy enough, and like I think he actually has sincere wants and desires to actually be with Rhaenyra. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not like fooled into thinking that this has nothing to do with the fact that she's like in the succession to the throne and he wants to basically be king. But I think that he actually has feelings for her to some degree, which is fun. But that's there. I think we have to have some kind of realization and understanding as weird, at least to me, as weird, and it's to each their own, you know, their opinion out there who's listening to this. As weird as it is to me, the Targaryens are just, they live by a different rule and a different kind of normalcy. There we go. Different kind of culture, if you will. But they introduced the children. One is named Aegon and one is named Viserys. And it instantly made me think that the Song of Ice and Fire, you know, the prophecy that he had told Rhaenyra was that Aegon or a prince would be born to him. And prophecy was talking about with Alicent when he's in front of the fire, and Aegon would be born, a prince would be born to him named Aegon, and he should be the rightful heir to the Iron Throne and to the king. And now we have two Aegons. We have an Aegon by Rhaenyra, and we have an Aegon by Alicent, right? The blacks versus the greens. And Aegon from Rhaenyra clearly is the right one. We talked about that in our podcast, True Heir to the Iron Throne. And it seems like legitimately like she's the, you know, she's the rightful heir to the throne. And she is the rightful one to also kind of claim it as well. So there is that. But I feel like it's still at least, I don't know, even though they had that whole episode of like a realization that she's the one who she's the rightful one. The episode says it all. It's still for the characters that question of, we have two Aegons. Is she really the one? Is her line really the correct line? I mean, is the Viserys, who was Aegon's real, who was the dream Viserys was having? Really? That's the thing. That's the question, right? I mean, yeah. But anyway, getting back to it, as they're visiting Viserys, something else that was striking to me was that, and I guess I was thinking about on this first and second watch, was that similar to some like other stories that we've probably seen, I was kind of like immediately kind of like wondering like, well, like, he's sick. He's so sick. They never really explain how the fuck did he get this way? How the fuck did he become so broken down, so distraught, so degraded as a man that he can't even like walk and take care of himself and all this? How did he get this way? They never really explained that. And I was thinking that like, because he ails out in pain. He's like, oh, I'm in pain. And he's like, I need my tea. And Aegon and Daemon goes to give him his tea. And as he reaches for this tea, he's like, this? He's like, yeah. And he drinks it. And then Daemon smells into it. And Daemon makes his face. He's like, what the fuck is this? What's this? Why does it smell like this? And later it's revealed like it's milk of the poppy. But at the same time, I was thinking like, what if like they were just like fucking drugging this dude the entire time? Otto Hightower and fucking Alicent were just keeping him all drugged up and making his sickness even worse. Or maybe this is Otto Hightower from like the fucking very beginning. Otto fucking Hightower. Jeez, ridiculous, truly ridiculous. Because again, all of this wouldn't be possible without him. Yeah, let's get back into the episode though. Yeah, so that happens, and they cut this. Well, before that, they should actually also show why they were able to meet with the king in the first place, and it wasn't necessarily able to meet with Alicent. So the issue was that, like, the Aegon, Alicent's firstborn child, had they allude that he had, you know, sexually abused this woman, this one of their servants, and I would imagine. So if we read a passage from this from the actual book, sorry. I don't know why I was looking at that word. If we read a passage from this from the actual book, we would actually begin to see that the passage actually says that she was raped, and Aegon took it as it was nothing. And he does present it like it was nothing inside of the actual show. But they never actually used that word rape in the show, or she was taken advantage of or sexually abused. They don't go to that extent. They don't explain it as that way. But it's obviously highly implied that she was abused or hurt in some kind of way. And yeah, it just definitely shows how ridiculous not really both sides, but like it's just ridiculous how ridiculous some of Alicent's children can be, despite her believing that she is, her entire team is the righteous ones, really, in my opinion. She's that righteous way about her. And Alicent actually confronts Aegon about this, and the butt scene, they really didn't need to show his butt. He's naked in bed, and like she's slapping him up and saying like, wake up, and telling him that about this. And the fucked up thing I guess I want to really talk about real quick is the fact that, she gives this poor girl, she confronts the girl too, really, about this situation. And then she gives this poor girl some fucking money and the tea that they use for like basically birth control, and just essentially sends her on her way. I mean, she could have been like worse about it if she was like what's her name? The queen from Game of Thrones. If she was like Joffrey's mom, I can't remember her name right now. If she's like Joffrey's mom, she would have probably had her killed or something like that. Do you know what I mean? I think that does actually happen in Game of Thrones. And that's what I was thinking that was actually going to happen inside of that episode. She's going to be like, oh, we'll have you murdered at some point or something like that. It's fine. But that's not exactly what happened. She actually has like, a little bit of mercy. But the fact that like, how she played it, how she told us like, oh, I believe you, it's fine, I believe you. I know you didn't mean to try to seduce him or nothing like that, but other people might not believe you. Other people might not be so kind and so willing to, believe exactly that you had, good intentions of not seducing my poor boy. But the way how she, you know what? She had a good teacher. She manipulated the shit out of that lady in that moment. And she had a good teacher. Who was that teacher? Otto fucking Hightower. Man, she playing the game though, and that was a move. She learned those. You can see she's mastered her skills of manipulation and being somewhat of a queen to that extent with that little interaction. Anyway, getting back to it. So Alicent and Rhaenyra actually fucking meet eventually. They eventually get to meet, and Daemon is there as well. And again, we see like Daemon's just his maturity comes about, and when they both start to question her about, like, well, what the fuck is happening with Viserys? Like, why is he so? What? Are you really taking care of him? They just like put into question, are you really taking care of him? And what the hell happened to the castle? Well, who told you that it was okay for you to remove, thousands of years of Targaryen, like, the Targaryen dynasty and the decorations and stuff that they had around the castle? Who said that it was okay for you to, remove those things? Who said that it was okay for you to take all those things down and put up stars and all these other things and etc.? And she was kind of like, I think her excuse is just basically that they've just been gone for a long time or something like that. And Rhaenyra and Daemon are just kind of scoff it off. But they meet, and it just seems like one of those, like, family those family interactions. It felt very domestic. It felt very domesticated, like a very domesticated situation. As to, like, basically what's happening with that. You know what I mean? Like, what's happening with the old man? Are you drugging him? Like, are your maesters drugging him? Your maesters aren't really taking proper care of him, etc. And yeah. Something we gotta really talk about is the changings in some of the characters. We talked a little bit about that earlier in the podcast, but the changing of the characters for the boys and the young boys that are now seeing what it looks like in their late teens, I want to say early 20s maybe, of the story. And we see in the designs of the casting choice and the casting choice and the aesthetics for how, I guess, they bring together Luke and Chase, and they look kind of like the same. They look like appropriate for how the changes from when they were like little kids, right? Like, that's like okay, I think. But what was really interesting, because we saw Aegon. We saw Aegon, and now we get to see Aemon. I think his name is Aemon, but Alicent's second child, and his design because we know from that whole interaction from the previous episodes ago, he lost his eye, and he's wearing a patch, and his design is so unique. And let me know what you guys think in the comments. But like, he looks very different from that of Aegon. He's got this Sephiroth looking motherfucker. He looks so much like Sephiroth. And like, if you play the Final Fantasy VII games, like Final Fantasy VII Remake, I haven't played the entire thing yet, but I've seen it, and I've seen all the movies like that. The movie's amazing. Just a segue for Final Fantasy fans out there, and Square Enix is amazing. Yeah, play some Final Fantasy. That Sephiroth looking motherfucker, he looks so wicked and evil with the lost eye. And the way they introduced him is like he's in a duel with Sir Christian, and he's like, Sir Christian's like swinging at him. He's swinging at him with this mace, and he's fighting him, and he's doing a pretty good job. But the way that he's just introduced and he's like fighting, and how he looks so much like Sephiroth, and with the eye patch, he looks so evil, and I love it. It looks so good though. Like, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you agree with me? Like, the design for Aemon, I want to say that's his name. This Alicent's second son, how he looks like the long hair, and his hair looks so like luscious, like Sephiroth. Like Let me know if we felt some like Sephiroth vibes there. Because everybody in the show has like white hair. Everybody else in the show has like white hair. Like a lot of people, the Targaryens have like white hair, and it's cool. But it doesn't look like how his looks and how he like wears the black leather too. I just like Sephiroth. I just like Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. Like, what the fuck? What? Is that? And it's just, I think that he stands up so much. I think he does stand out so much because he's going to play a major role in the next season. I think so. That's my prediction. A little bit of a prediction there. Anyway, so Lord Corlys's brother enters King's Landing to challenge the legitimacy. And they talk with Alicent. He talks with Alicent about exactly what is going on with the throne, etc., and how, what's going on with Lord Corlys and how he questions whether a boy can really handle the responsibilities of the lords of being Lord of the Tides, and etc., and all this other stuff. And it's like all of this really shouldn't even really necessarily be happening. But during this conversation, Otto fucking Hightower was there. And it just feels like Alicent's being manipulated all over again, really. And it feels like, really, who is pulling the strings behind this is Otto fucking Hightower. God. In the next couple of scenes, we also see, in this episode, we also get to see Rhaenyra and Rhaenys actually talk. Lord Corlys's husband. A wife. What am I saying? Oh my God, maybe not yet. Lord Corlys's like wife. And they're talking about one another, and she actually brings up the deal about how she wants to marry her children off to her grandchildren, Bela and Rhaena and Layla, or whatever their names are. Okay, so I know it's Game of Thrones. I know that this is House of the Dragons. I know that this is their world, but just the fact of marrying children off like that is just, and then the way they talk about it again, like it's just some like fucking deal. Like I will never. It will always look so abnormal and strange in my eyes. Like and even hearing about it. It will always look so weird and be perceived as such. Like it just can't get over it. It's definitely why I can't get over it. But realistically, that was a desperate move on Rhaenyra's part, and we all saw it. Just so Rhaenys could like back the claim that Lord Corlys's brother was essentially challenging them to. And I gotta say something about like Rhaenyra and her acting though. The actress for Rhaenyra. The first Rhaenyra, the young girl, I said it before earlier, she was really good. She was really, really good. And then they switched actors. And then like I guess I was saying before earlier too, a lot of people had problems with this when they switched actors. I didn't have a problem with it, one, because they're not gonna get some average Joe Blow character to fucking play these characters. Any person who they cast or recast, they're gonna be fucking good. They gotta be good. And she shows her fucking acting chops in this episode for sure. That episode, the scene with where she's like laying in the bed, and he's like laying on the bed, and the king's laying in the bed, Viserys laying in the bed, and she goes to him during the night, and she begs him for help with the situation of being the legitimacy of her children being put into question. Before I even go into this, like, what do you guys think about Rhaenyra? Do you guys like Rhaenyra? And do you like the fact that, I guess like she had to go to daddy for asking a bit of like not questions, but asking, she had to go to daddy for help, even though he's on his dying bed a little bit. Like, I could see how this could be perceived by some viewers as like kind of like weak, and also some viewers might look at this like, well, our children aren't legitimate. Like, she put herself in this situation. She is technically in the wrong, and if she deserves everything that's coming. Her and the children deserve everything that's coming to them. I mean, I know some of you out there agree with that sentiment. I know that. But here's the thing. I mean, and it's okay. I want you guys to voice that. If you guys agree with that, voice that. Here's the thing. Personally, I don't know if she's right or she's wrong. But there's never a wrong time, in my opinion, because if you think about you were Viserys, you would want your child to be able to come to you if there's a problem or a situation, right? You would want them to feel comfortable enough to like approach you to be like, Dad, I need your help, Mom, I need your help, etc. X, Y, and Z. So I didn't really have a problem with her going to him. Rhaenyra was always been Rhaenyra, and I feel like Viserys knows that deep down inside to a certain degree. Rhaenyra gonna be Rhaenyra at the end of the day. She gonna fuck around with dudes who ain't a part of the family. She gonna fuck around with. She ain't down with the incest. She don't want to be down with the incest. She don't want to be down with the incest. I don't know what to tell you. Not the incest. I couldn't know this because she is fucking her uncle. But like, she doesn't want to be down with, she wants to fuck who she wants to fuck. She wants to fuck who she wants to fuck. And Viserys she's always known, like I said before, she plays by the beat of her own drummer. That's my thing. And I didn't really have a problem with that, with her going to him. But I do want to mention though, in that scene when she does go to him, awesome acting. Awesome acting. The most difficult, I think, cringe. Well, here's the thing. Here's a little tidbit I've noticed while watching these series. And I'm not a professional by any means, guys. But here's the thing. Here's a realistic thing. If you have an actor that you like, and you really want to question the validity of that actor, you say, okay, this person can act. Good actor. Good actor on set. Good actor in these scenes. I love this character. I love this person. They know how to emote and bring out emotions and tell the story and bring the story to life in a great way. They know how to do that. If you want to test that statement, the facts of that statement, look at them on how they act during an emotionally draining, difficult scene, such as like a scene where they have to cry. A scene that's really sad or really tough. And the details of that and the emotions that they bring out of it, in it, is kind of like the ease in which they can do that and the believability of it in which they can do that, the mannerisms, like how when she went to him, she was like crying and she kind of like saw like he could barely like talk back, and how she like covered her mouth and she was like crying and talking about how the weight of the crown is like way too much, and she's like basically shaking her head. Like that was, you could tell this bitch could act. You could tell this bitch like she that's a skill. She just the slight little things that she was doing with her hands and her mouth and how she looked away and just was shaking her head. Like that was an emotionally believable moment. So that kudos to like her, and I think she's been doing a good job. Like I know y'all fucking hate on her just because she ain't look like the young one, but like some of you anyway. Like, but like I think in my opinion, like she's been doing a great job, and she does a great job as playing Rhaenyra. Like that scene proved that she knew what she was doing, dude, and she can act. But some people don't like, I don't know, some people don't like the fact that she changed it and then, yeah, and etc. But, yeah. Overall, shout outs though to those of you. Do you guys like, again, I might have asked it before, but do you like Rhaenyra? Is Rhaenyra cool? I think I made it clear how I felt about Otto fucking Hightower, but like, is Rhaenyra, do you guys like Rhaenyra? Is she, yeah, I asked before about the Rhaenyra versus Alicent thing, which team you guys are on, but like, even if you're not on Team Rhaenyra, like, do you like Rhaenyra? Like, is she okay character? Is she acceptable character? It's funny because I've never heard anybody say that you can't stand her. You just don't like her at all. I've never heard that at all. Anyway, so we cut back to a scene where Viserys is now getting patched up. He's getting his, it's like a routine kind of like thing where he's being looked after, and etc. And we see him without his shirt on, and Otto Hightower is there, and he's telling Otto Hightower he He wants to have a dinner with all of his family and get them together. And you can kind of sense what's coming. Like his end is so near. He's degrading on a level. Like his back looks like a bunch of patches. He looks like a skeleton. He's got no weight on him. And like, you know what? I wonder how they fucking did that. If it was like green screen, because I there's probably like a video out there of like behind the Game of Thrones or etc. But I wonder, I really wonder how they did that, because if they did use green screen for that, and if they did, because they had to, right? Like that's the only way. Like, I mean, I can imagine how they did it, or they did some kind of CGI thing. That shit looked good. That shit looked really good. Like it looked believable. That shit looked really believable. I recently took a look at another show. I don't want to spoil the shows that are coming out that we're reviewing, but we recently took a look at another show and they were doing some CGI stuff. And I'll just say that show is a big franchise, big IP, intellectual property, big thing around the world, worldwide. And it didn't look like that. I'll tell you that. The CGI didn't look like how that looked. It looked really good in that one shot where he was like essentially getting patched up. Well, he was getting patched up, and his skin was like his. I'm sure his body. Obviously, his body doesn't look like that. His body can't look like that. But or else he'd be dead. But it looks really believable. Really believable. So again, that just shows like you might not like the certain things about the show. You might have strong opinions, but the reason that you have strong opinions about the show is like because you love Game of Thrones and you love the House of the Dragon. You do, even though you have complaints about it. Let's get back on with the episode. So the meeting starts. This big whole get together starts talking about what is the situation with the tides and Driftmark, and who is it going to go to if Corlys passes, and who proceeds over it, because the king is in such a state that he's assumed that Otto Hightower is going to be the one that hears everybody out and declares what's going to go down with it and what's going to be the resulting thing of it. Because George R.R. Martin even says, like, if you're the hand of the king, you basically speak for the king and you have like a lot of power when it comes to serving him. You aren't the king, but you have a lot of power in carrying out all of his actions, and you speak for him when he's not there, exactly in this situation, right? He couldn't. So Lord Corlys goes and he states his claim as to why he believes that he goes first, and he believes why he believes that Luke isn't ready and isn't mature enough to handle the responsibilities that comes along with handling and having Driftmark. And Rhaenyra actually steps in to defend Luke and saying why his inheritance should be intact. Now, I don't understand why. I guess I want to comment real quick. I don't get why. I guess maybe he was too young. He wasn't old enough to speak for himself, and his parents were still alive, so they recognized him as a parent. But if he's, I don't know. I found it kind of odd. Like, man, he doesn't like a kid. He's like old enough to be in that room, because their even younger brother, who is a kid, wasn't there. So I'm assuming that he wasn't allowed to be there. But but he is allowed to be there. So he has some kind of like maturity about him. Do you know what I mean? So it's just I thought it was kind of weird how he couldn't. Or he might have been able to speak for himself later, but he just didn't get the chance. But I just thought it was kind of weird that Rhaenyra got the chance, was speaking for him in that kind of like defense. I thought if we recognized him as a man, he would have been able to speak for himself. But maybe again, he didn't get a chance because the fucking king shows up and everybody is shocked that this motherfucker, and me included, everybody is shocked, me included, that this motherfucker is somehow alive and kicking. As the Dragon Ball Z Cell in 16, you're alive and kicking. Well, not kicking, because you're just a head 16. Perfect Cell here. Perfect Cell. Anyway, sticking with the episode. So the fucking king comes out and everybody is shocked. Fucking me included. Like I said, I thought this dude was supposed to be dead for a long time, but he walks in and he is doing his fucking champion's walk through this hall as everybody watched this. And this powerful like symphony of music plays in the background, righteously so, because like he should not be doing what he is doing right now. He should not be even. He doesn't look like he should be able to do what he's doing right now. It's one of those like anime amazing moments. Like it's like he has incredible strength. Whoa, look at him go! He surpassed it. Oh, all these comments. Yeah, just yes. And again. Daemon in the scene, Daemon showing his maturity. He climbs the steps to the throne, to the Iron Throne, to take a seat and proceed over the situation that's happening with the Lord of the Tides. And the armor person tries to help him, and he's like, no. I don't need any help. And then the knight, armored knight, fucks off, and he continues on this fucking death march up these steps, literal death march up these steps. As he's literally falling apart, and his clothes are falling, his crown is falling off of him, and Daemon picks up his crown, and Daemon looks at him, and in that moment, you knew that Daemon wasn't like we all, I feel like we all felt like Daemon might be a son of a bitch sometimes, but like in this moment, he loves his brother. Like in this moment, he loves his brother. In this moment, he recognizes his brother's strength, to fucking get up those steps and fucking be there for his family. Like he recognizes that. And Daemon helps him up the steps, and he puts the crown on him. And I thought that said so much, that Daemon is, again, his maturity, he's come a long way as a character, in my opinion. Like, I don't think, because it was like, and when I first watched it, it was like, and then by the end of it, you're like, Daemon, 75% okay. He's 75% okay. I'm not saying like all of him is okay. He might have some demons in the closet for sure. He definitely probably does. He's probably doing it for ambition, but he loves his brother. You know what I mean? And I think his brother definitely loves him. So the king actually makes it up the steps and onto the crown with Daemon's help. And yeah, like the proceeding essentially continues, and he says that the only person who really has a voice here, who is to contribute anything of noteworthy, is Lord Corlys's wife, Princess Rhaenys. And it makes sense that she is the only one who realistically has any say, because she is his wife, his lady wife. His lady wife, and that's basically how it went back in the days. Like, if your husband can't speak for your family, or can't speak for your household, right there. So the man can't speak for the family, or whatever it is. It falls on the wife to responsibility to say which way the tides will fall. So really, Princess Rhaenys basically supports Lucerys and Princess Rhaenyra's children. And it's so funny that like everybody on the green side, Alicent's family, Aegon, and even her and her dad first of all looks so shocked, and then they show it's sorry I didn't know, like, scream, but like they show the family, man. They show the family, and they show the Greens family, and then they show the Blacks family, the Blacks being Rhaenyra and Greens being Alicent's family. And it just shows like the clear divide. And but during that moment when Rhaenys was basically saying whose side she's on, who she sides with, Alicent and her father look so smug. They look so like, oh, how dare they? Like, oh, like when they be playing the game too, they just want to be in power, really. It was a very cathartic moment. I feel like that like Rhaenys basically backed Rhaenyra, the true heir to the Iron Throne. I mean, I guess, guys, I'll just be straight up. I guess I'm like more on Rhaenyra's side. I'm more team Rhaenyra, for me, for sure. Rather than that, I think majority of people are. Rather than team Alicent. Like, I think Alicent has problems, but I understand why, she's been pushed to do what she's a pawn. She's being pushed to do what she had to do. And after it all goes down, and the king basically says, okay, let's consider this matter concluded. Nope, that can't happen. Of course, that can't happen. We can't let that go. Of course, his brother, Damius, I think I want to say, not Damius, whatever his name is. Lacour's brother is like, no, like I can't accept this, and it's basically, you might want to ruin your house, but I won't allow my house to basically essentially be ruined. And the scene when he's like, where he like basically outs like he's outs Lucerius telling him that he is not a true Valarian because he doesn't look, he doesn't look like them. It does two things. One, you gotta remember, like, this guy's black, right? Like, Lorcross's brother is black, and I a lot of people had a lot of problems when these black characters came in, but this scene is sure as hell fucking effective when he like points at him. He's like, that thing is not a true Valarian, because the last of the Valarians are supposed to be like have like black skin, like like colored people and look a little bit more like like them. And he's like, I just found it so funny. He's like, that thing is not a Valarian. That thing over there is not Valarian. I was like, damn. I was like, damn. Like, I really know. I was like, that's scathing. I felt that, and it is like, and then came the announcement that he made. He is like, he's like, I will not let my house be tarnished for. And then Damon's like, for what? Say it, because he wanted him to say it so he could act out, which he did. He's like, say it. He's like, say it. And then he's like, I won't let my house. And he just basically says, yo, those children. Sorry, I get so excited about it, guys. That scene was so powerful. He's like, her children. He's like, say it. He's like, her children are bastards, and he's like yelling this. I just wilding out, just wilding straight the fuck out, I mean, here's the thing: everybody in that hall knows it to be true, but they ain't stupid enough to fucking say this shit. And so Renee just stands there, she's like, because like she knows like what's up. She knows what's up, and she knows what's this fucking idiot's like done now. And done to himself. That's what I meant when I say done. And he adds salt to the wound. And he calls her a whore. She's like, your children are bastards, and she's a whore. And Viserys, dying on his fucking feet, pulls out his dagger and says, I shall have your tongue for that. But before he pulls out his dagger and says, I shall have your tongue. And before he can even strike, though, or attempt to strike, Daemon comes in with a sword and fucking slashes this dude's head not perfectly in half, but in more of a slanted shape. It was very medieval, and it was very, very real, the way how he dies. And he kills him. He slashes his head in a diagonal place with a sword. And he dies right there. And the funny thing is, like, when he when that happens, everybody's like, the guards like, seize him. And it was basically from like Allison's side. I think Otto Hightower said that. Someone said it. I don't know. I just thought that was very interesting because, like, why? Because why? They were like, seize him, but why? He was gonna die anyway, and like Daemon, I guess because he is like take down his weapon, or de-weapon him or something like that. Because they were worried about the health of the king. But again, the king was just gonna murder him anyway. So yeah. Anyway, So now he's dead, and everybody is kind of like, it's not even that big of a deal. But now that he's dead, he's an afterthought, really. Viserys is now feeling more ill than ever and asks to be basically taken away by the Maesters. And Lord Corlys' brother is his body is exhumed by the Maesters, and they take care of him, and etc. And now they proceed in the next scene. You got to talk about this here for sure. We proceed with this dinner that they essentially decide to have. Well, that doesn't really decide to have, but Lord Viserys, King Viserys, decided that he wanted his family to have. And the thing is, this is where we really see the divide. I mean, if you weren't seeing it physically before, you could definitely see it at this dinner table where we literally have two families sitting on opposite ends of the table of Alicent and Rhaenyra, sitting on both opposite ends of this table, and the king sitting in the middle. Literally, when I was going through this, I was thinking, this old dying man is the one thing keeping this fucking family together, and he's seconds away from dying. And the second he dies, we know that all chaos is going to be broken, and all chaos is going to break. All hell is going to break loose. And the funny thing is, before he is dying, this just basically shows that this family doesn't have any respect for this dying old man and the king. He says, we don't want any more of this infighting. Let's just stop all of this. Be merry and be happy and be good towards one another. And that happens for a little bit until he leaves the dinner, and all hell basically breaks loose. It's clear foreshadowing of what's gonna happen when he basically fucking passes away. But before that, Rhaenyra, and it's so sad because it looks like Alicent was understanding to what the king was basically saying. He was trying to guard her peace. He was trying to say, all right, no more of this fucking infighting. No more of this shit. Let's just be cool with one another. And it got to the point where Rhaenyra and Alicent toasted to one another and said that it was basically like, okay, yeah, cool. We'll agree to peace. And that's what it'll be for the sake of the king. But it's more trickier than that, right? So Viserys, basically, that scene, man, they showed again his body and how it's just basically decayed. Again, this is all CGI thing, but it looks so real. It looks very, very, they did a very good job with that. He's missing an eye. We could see inside of his jaw because part of his cheek is missing. He's looking rough, but again, they made this look really, really good. And anyway, during this dinner, for the most part, the king isn't really feeling too hot. So he leaves the dinner, and after Alicent and Rhaenyra makes the, toast toward one another, and they promise to guard the peace. And for the most part, while the king is around, everything is fine. But the second, like I said before, second the king leaves, all kind of fucking shit basically happens. All hell breaks loose, and it starts with the whole fact that again, Alicent's second son, the Sephiroth looking motherfucker, man, he looks so much like Sephiroth from Final Fantasy 7. Anyway, it's just, I guess, because how wicked he looks. And you know what it is too? He has this kind of, some people kind of have that shape, that head shape, that stone fucking head shape. I think that's what it is too. His face looks so skinny. That's what it is. Yeah. And it starts off with this, and first, I'll be honest with you, on first watch, I didn't quite get how the insults during that toast that he was making really got to Chase and Lucerys. I didn't really understand how that was an insult in the first. place, because he starts to say that let's give them praise of just how strong they are, because they're two strong boys. And I was like, what the fuck is this dude talking about? There's two strong boys. Okay, all right, cool. And then like Chase starts getting mad. I was like, well, why is he getting mad? And then like I was like, oh, I get it, because Lord Harwin Strong is their actual father. yeah. So he's basically calling them bastards again without being bastards. Basically calling them illegitimate to the throne without calling them, without directly saying that they're illegitimate to the throne. And yeah, that's essentially how it goes down. What's funny and significant before this episode essentially ends, and we're reaching basically the end of it now, is that Rhaenyra had promised Lucerys and Chase basically fight their uncles in a fist fight after those insults, and Daemon essentially has to break it up. And after breaking it up, Alicent and Rhaenyra essentially make an agreement for Rhaenyra to return on Dragonback to further look after her father, because they were in agreement that, okay, like, cool, Rhaenyra can be, Rhaenyra can have the throne. And even Alicent's father, when Alicent toasted that, said, okay, Rhaenyra, she recognized Rhaenyra as the queen. And when Alicent said that, even Otto fucking Hightower looked at her like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Yeah, I thought that was really funny. But we know that would never have come to pass. That never is going to come to pass. Because the cruelty and the selfishness of man, he planned this thing out for years, and you just want to get the throne? Huh? Really? No. That's his expression was basically given up. But yeah, she had promised to return back to the castle to actually take care of her father and be with his father in the last of his days. And we'll see in the next episode how that's most likely saved her fucking life. But we come towards the end of the episode, and Viserys basically has a chat with Alicent in their bed as he's like yelling in pain. And this man is delirious at this point. He's not knowing what he's saying. And he tries to tell her about the story about the Song of Ice and Fire, and how Aegon the Conqueror had a dream about the Song of Ice and Fire and uniting the Five Kingdoms, and etc. And this dumb bitch fucking interprets it as, okay, I want Aegon, our son, to be ruler of the Seven Kingdoms and ruler of the Seven Realms and all this other stuff. Wrong. No, that's not what he was saying, bitch. Like, he was just telling you the story of a Song of Ice and Fire that he had remembered. He didn't even know who you were at that point. He was so fucking out of it. He was so gone. And yeah, and basically the episode ends on Viserys writhing in pain in his bed, is like saying his last words of "I love you," and I think that was to both Alicent and Rhaenyra, not just Rhaenyra. But yeah, that's the end of the episode. Really good episode, honestly, at the overall. And now it's time for Ash's favorite scenes. You know what it is. Ash's worst scenes. Oh yeah. Okay, so we're gonna start with Ash's worst scenes. Honestly, in this episode, there wasn't a lot of worst scenes. There was no worst scene in this, really. There was nothing that really bothered me. Not really. I guess maybe the worst scene was seeing how no, there wasn't any really real worst scene in this. Not really. I mean, I think we're gonna pass. We're gonna take a pass on Ash's worst scene. This worst scene. There was nothing really that really bothered or really found like unnecessary or annoying about this one. It's usually for the weaker series or for series that really don't have it together. So we're gonna jump right into Ash's favorite scenes. Yeah. Coming in hot at number 3. I think one of the best scenes in this was the parents of the two brothers of the Alicent's children. We got to see how they look different, and specifically seeing the design for the brother that's specifically seeing the design for Alicent's second son, at Aegon, I want to say Aegon. I messed with the names, guys. I'm sorry. I messed with the names. But he looks like Sephiroth. I like that, and that was great. That was great to see that. I feel like they're drawing a little bit from Final Fantasy VII. Just he looks so evil. Like I was very pleased to see how they cast him, how he basically looks. Coming in at number 2 for Ash's favorite scenes, I think number 2 has got to be the divide, the dinner, the divide between the divide of the two families. You have to actually see the greens versus the reds. Green set on one side, black set on the other side. And something that I noticed that I want to really mention, but we didn't get a chance to mention, was that you can just tell that in my opinion, who was the rightful heir to the throne, which is Rhaenyra's side, because if you watch that scene again, whereas this king basically has to leave, the true Targaryens show respect, and one side of the table show respect for the king by standing up. The true heirs stand up. Besides, the girl, Alicent's little girl, who was dancing with Chase at the time. As they leave, before all hell breaks loose, and also that takes like seconds for it to happen. I'll have all hell break loose. As they leave, one side of the table stands up and one side doesn't. And I'll tell you, the greens don't stand up. The blacks, they all stand up in respect to the king. They understand and they respect the king. They respect his life, and they thank him for their life. That said a lot to me. But everybody on the green side, all the fucking Hightower and Alicent and Alicent's first son, Aegon, they all sat down. They didn't show any respect to him. Just a little tidbit that I saw. But that's why I like that scene, and that's why it's coming in at number 2. And I also noticed that though she was on the green side, Alicent's daughter was standing up. So I just think that these little things they put in foreshadow what's gonna basically go down. Because in the next scene, in that same sequence, the second he leaves, the interaction between Alicent's second son, Aemond, his name is Aemond and Lucerys, the pig is brought out, and Lucerys starts to laugh, and Aemond gets mad at him, and that's when he goes off and starts insulting him, and that's how that fight starts. The second of Lucerys leaves, more foreshadowing of what's going to happen in the next episode, because we already seen the entire thing. It's going to happen. Coming in at number 1 in Ash's favorite scenes, though, that fucking death march, bro. That death march towards, and that whole sequence of being in the hall when that guy died, that entire scene was amazing. That entire scene was amazing, I think. Like, as he's marching, showing how fucking tough he, because, like, again, I would have bet everything but the kitchen sink that this man wouldn't have made it up them stairs, or how he was breaking apart. He was done for, and he was just on his last legs, and it just didn't seem like he was going to make it. And I'm surprised that he made it that far. He really showed his strength as a man, not only as a man, but as a king, and also, a ruler. And he showed that he showed strength for his family, and he showed strength for his daughter. He wanted to stand by his daughter because she asked him to. That's why it's number 1, definitely. Linda, can we get the on-review score, please?
House of the Dragon Episode 8 receives a 5 out of 5.
Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for me. I am all out of time. Thank you so much for listening. If you made it all to the way to the end, I really do appreciate it. Apologize if it's gone on for a bit too long, but thank you nonetheless for listening. You guys are awesome. You rock. You allow me to do these reviews, which I enjoy doing for you, and hopefully you enjoy them as well. And if you enjoy them, go to our socials, all our Facebook, our Instagram, our Twitters. Do all the Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and social media things. Do the social media things because they're the right thing to do. You know that they are. You know that they are. You know that they are. Yeah. But again, guys, thank you so much for listening. It's been awesome. And just before I go, I want to thank our sponsor today, actually. Yeah, I know, guys. But I want to thank our sponsor today, Anomaly Beats. Listen to Anomaly Beats now on most of your streaming platforms, including Spotify and YouTube. Anomaly Beats. If you're not feeling weak, listen to some Anomaly Beats. Yeah. No, we'll come up with a better tagline for that later on. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for me, like I said before. Just before I go, don't forget, be safe, be kind, be you. Take care.